Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, girl.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, grrr.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming. My name's Seth. What's yours? Just me for now. I just wanted to welcome you back to the second part of our interview with Aja that you hopefully heard last week. So if you haven't, go listen to part 1 and then come back. We just had the best time talking to her. Such a kind spirit. And if there are any other drag queens you'd like us to interview, why don't you go ahead and tweet at us and them so that we both know you want us to collaborate. All right, I know you don't want to hear me talking anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and get into this second part of our interview with Aja. Make sure you do subscribe, leave a review, and you don't want to miss any of our future interviews and recaps. We recap every week all the new episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race in whatever country they're in. And it's really a lot of fun, a little bit of shade, and you will all have the best time. All right, here's the interview.
But I particularly love your music because it's all a giant fuck you to everything that's kind of happening or has happened, kind of through your come up from, oh, that's Aja the drag queen, to now this is Aja the performer. And it's a fun and lighthearted way. And then there's other songs that are just like, I'm going to jab you. This is who I am. Fuck what you say. I'm going to throw it back at you. And others are just carefree and upbeat. And I think that completely embodies what we have seen of you on the show. And I know you said that you weren't presenting as yourself, but I guess we've kind of, as fans from your day one on TV to here we are today, we feel like we've seen those pieces as fans.
You know, I feel like, thank you.
Thank you. Your music goes off. I was down here bopping, doing dishes earlier.
Oh, wait, before we get off, I'm going to have to show y'all some stuff from my new album.
Well, I did want to ask you because you got Crown coming, right?
Yeah. So, last year, I became a priest in my spiritual faith, which is Lukumi. It's a branch of the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria. And Lukumi is kind of like the survivor practice that kind of survived after the Atlantic slave trade. And my biological father is a priest in the practice as well. And a lot of people don't know this, but I'm adopted. I met my biological parents last year.
Oh, wow.
What was that like?
But
moving on.
It was right before COVID.
Yeah.
My dad is very serious and very like forward, and my mom is like 16 going on like 40 going on 16. I just got a message from her. She's in rehab right now. Like, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. She was like, I didn't want to tell you I had a drug addiction. I was like, sis, like, I get it. I don't, but I get it. Like, I'm empathizing. So I was just like, you know what? I'm sympathizing, empathizing, all the thizing. So
I connect to that particularly because I've gotten into digging into my ancestry recently. The past couple years, I'll say I made my parents take tests, DNA tests, and myself as well. And I'm primarily from Nigerian heritage and from the Congo.
Same.
And I fancy myself a spiritual witchy person, so I've been kind of diving into those practices. So I was very interested to see what that spirituality and practice look like for you, because I'm just now learning it and I don't want to go any farther until I know exactly what tribe I came from. And
see, with Lukumi, since it's such a people in America call it Santeria, but that's kind of like the colonized term.
Yes.
And because it has not people acquainted with, they call it the way of the saints, but there's no saints.
Right.
So it's like, okay. But the way it works in West Africa is each city had its own orisha that they would sort of like initiate in that city. And like in Osogbo town, you have you would have Oshun. And like that's where people will get crowned Oshun. But then like in Oyo, you might get crowned Shango. And in different places. Now, when all those people came to Cuba, Brazil, like the Caribbean, what happened was that they were getting together and they were being like, we have to do this out of survival. We have to let this last. Mm-hmm. And the birth of Lukumi was the form was done by one of our ancestors. Her name is Efushe. That was her name in the practice. And it's in the book Santeria Enthroned. And it talks about all the slave trade and how it happened. She went to Cuba and she was crowned a Chosi. And she didn't know anything about how to initiate people. But she got all these priests and priestesses together after they basically used divination to buy their freedom. They were divining the white men, and then the price was the freedom. And they created these houses that people called cabildos, and they started forming a way to initiate people. But you would get crowned one orisha, but you would receive all the orisha that from all the different cities. And that tradition survived. In the 50s, a queer Black man named Alfred Davis, his priest name was Omitoke. He was a priest of Yemaya, and he went to Cuba and he got crowned and brought it back to New York, where he spread it into the African-American community in New York, kind of creating a place where Black Americans could feel connected to their roots. Because at first, a lot of like rich Cuban white ladies were getting crowned because they were like, oh, this is like, this is the moment. And
this is trendy.
No.
But, Alfred Davis really did a big thing by bringing it to New York and bringing it to the African-American community, thus kind of creating the decolonization of the practice, where they started to detach the saint imagery from it. But I've been involved with the practice since I was a child.
That was my follow-up question. Have you kind of grew up with it or discovered it recently?
I grew up a medium. I saw things, always heard things. By the age of 10, I was divining using cards, shells, water, looking at someone. And, I had these weird tendencies. Like if somebody left a cigar around, I would start smoking the cigar and then start like telling people shit. And people were like, what the fuck is going on? And at the age of 14, 15, I got really sick. And in the middle of the school year, it was like October, my godmother, she was my babysitter. She was a priest in Palo Mayombe, which is a Congo practice. And she was a priest in Lukumi for about 40 years at the time. And she was a priestess of Yemaya. She took me to she had a house in Puerto Rico, and she took me there. And she was this like crazy Afro-Cuban lady, like wild.
I
like,
love that.
Always had the turban, literally with skin and bones, just draped.
Oh my gosh.
And
draped proper.
Draped. And she took me there, and she was like, we're gonna have to initiate. She was like, we're gonna have to initiate you into Palo Mayombe because you're gonna die. And I was like, what? And I was feeling like shit for a while. I really thought I was going crazy, and they initiated me, and I said, like, within a week I felt normal, and I was like, what the fuck? And it's when I started to get really spiritual, because then when I got to New York, my divining and things that I would see in my dreams, everything got very elaborate. And I was like, I thought I was crazy. I was like, there's no way. And it started off with little things. I started paying for my drag with doing readings.
Oh my gosh.
I worked at a little botanica up the block from my house. I walked in and I didn't have any money, and I wanted to get a reading. And I told the guy, I said, you read me and I'll read you. And he was like laughing at me like I was a joke. And he gave me this half-ass reading that was shit, honestly. And when I started reading him, he was like, what the fuck?
He was like, damn.
So I stood with him for a few years, and then when I started doing drag, I kind of left it behind. And then I still did all my spiritual stuff. At the time, I had in Lukumi, we have 3 steps of initiation. We have alekes, which is you receive these beaded necklaces. We have warriors, which you receive a set of orisha, and then you have the crowning, which is like the whole shabam. And at the time, I had a leke. I received the lekes before I auditioned for Drag Race, and I went to Puerto Rico to my godmother's house. It was me and former drag artist Momo Shade. We went to Puerto Rico, and we both received the lekes. And that year, I got on Drag Race. And I told my godmother, I said, I don't know how I'm gonna get on the show. I was like, I have no money, I have nothing. And she woke up the next day. She said, I had a dream. She said, bring me the the names of everyone involved. And I said, okay. And I gave them to her. And then she said, I looked up all the casting and everything. I was like, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what she did. For all I know, she could have done some video or something. But
yeah.
Within RuPaul a lengthy email.
Like two months later, I got my first call and then I got on the show. So, you know, I felt bad because I never told her that I got on the show because we kind of grew into this really awkward part of our relationship where everything became like sort of like if you became successful and she helped you, it was almost like, well,
like you owe me something. Yeah.
And I didn't like that, so I never told her, but I would do little acts of kindness. Like she got robbed at gunpoint and she had a necklace for Saint Lazarus, and I knew she had a big connection with him because her father and Lukumi was Obaluaye, who syncretized with Saint Lazarus in Catholicism. So I went and I got her like a nice like 24 karat gold Saint Lazarus. And I was like, you know, I heard what happened. Like, here you go. Like, I want to give this to you. And, you know, that day something was weird. I don't know what was going on, but she went back to Puerto Rico and she came back. And this was in 2018 summer. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I have all my Orisha in my backpack. And I said, what? She was like, I'm coming back. She's like, I'm coming to New York and I'm never coming back to Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, I know once I pass the water, she's like, I know I'm not coming back. And I was a few months later, I was on tour. I was in Switzerland. And I remember I was having a really weird week. My mom gave me this little like doll. And like when I had put it away, I was running late for my flight, and I remember I was with Ty at the time, and we got into this huge argument. He's like, "You're always fucking late for your flights." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!" And, I had this apparition of this really big albino woman in front of me.
Oh wow!
And I really couldn't tell where it was coming from, but it was like we were like running out, and I felt like I froze. I felt like fucking time froze, and I thought. But I knew that this was like a spirit or something. And like she looked at me in my face and she grabbed my hand and I felt it. And it sent chills up my arms, like to my hairs. And that's how I knew that something was weird. And she was like, not today, but tomorrow. She's like, your life is gonna change.
Oh my God.
And I said, so I didn't think of it. And I have the doll in my living room still. I went and it's crazy. The doll my mom gave me was an albino doll, by the way.
Oh,
So I flew to Switzerland, and the next day it was April 1st. Was it April 1st? No, it was October 1st. It was October 1st, and I was gonna do a show there, and I was chilling on the roof, and I started to get this anxiety attack, and I didn't know where it was coming from. So I started to walk away, and the promoter saw me. He was like in the penthouse suite. He's like, "Hey, do you want to come pop this bottle of champagne?" So I go to his room, and then I get a call from Momo. And Momo goes, "Hey, so did you hear about what happened to Iya?" In our practice, we call our godmothers Iyas or Iyatobis. So she was like, "What happened to Iya?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "She died last night."
Oh my goodness.
And when I tell you my heart dropped, I told the promoter, I was like, I'll be right back. And then I went to my room and Ty was there. And I remember I just walked in and I didn't know what to say. So like, he just looked at me and like, I'm one of those people that if something is wrong, like, you know. So he just goes, "What's wrong?" And I just broke down.
Oh my gosh. She came to you. She was sending you a message.
Yeah, and it was crazy because, you know, I had a special connection with her because when I had went to do that whole Palo thing in Puerto Rico, I was going through a lot at the time. And like, you know, I was really discovering myself, my whole identity. And she came into the room and I had just gotten into this whole like drama with people back at home. Mind you, meanwhile, I'm supposed to be dying. And you know, she told me, she was like, I hope you know that I know how you feel. She was like, I see that you feel alone and you feel like nobody listens to you. I'm getting emotional. And she looked at me in my face and she looked at me in the eyes and she was like, you know, I feel that way too. And she was like, I hope you know that you have a friend in me. And it was the first time I ever felt in my life like someone understood like who I was as a person. And I just broke down. Like I remember, you know, doing that. But when she passed, when she passed, it was really, I felt like it was a calling, because in this practice, there's so much scammery, shenanigans, and bullshit that you never know who's real and who's not.
Yeah.
So, me and Momo went on the lookout for new godparents, and then I felt like at that moment I had to really embrace my spirituality and move forward, because I didn't want to get lost without that, and I felt like I wanted to do it in honor of her. So in 2019, I found a new Elay, a new spiritual house, and they were very queer centric, very mixed race. Everyone was from everywhere, and I went up to my new godparent literally like 2 months after knowing him, and we were talking about this because I went to see him earlier, and I said, I want to get crowned, and he just looked at me and he was like, okay. And it's a big responsibility. You have to wear like white for a year and 7 days. You have to abstain from alcohol, vices, no clubs, no nothing. With my profession, that's hard. Like, it's a lot of stuff. And I did it, and I got marked as a child of Oshun. I'm a priest of Oshun, who is supposed to be the deity of femininity. People often associate her with love, sex, and everything. But Oshun is also a witch, a warrior, and she's also very destructive. So, people like to hide that part out.
Right.
But yeah, I did my whole year through the quarantine. I got out of my year in white in November. And, I feel more uplifted than I ever have. And I feel like after having such a weird suicidal year of bullshit shenanigans, like being dragged by the Drag Race fan base, taking a spiritual, like, not vacation, because
sabbatical,
doing something to uplift my own vibration made me feel very, very, very enlightened. And also, the best part of, being crowned your Orisha too is you receive a life reading. You get something we call an ita, and they write it in a book, and you get all these sequences of oduns and letters that drop, and they talk about your life. And in those oduns, they spoke about everything. They spoke about me meeting my biological parents before I did. It spoke about how I needed to continue going the way I wanted to go with my career, no matter what nobody said, because people were going to be against me. It spoke about how it spoke about everything. Everything that's happening even to this day is in my Ita. I pulled out my book. I was with my god's-daughter the other day, and I pulled out my book, and we had just took an edible. So, we were like, we were reading it, and I was like, bitch. And she looked at me and she said, this is exactly what's happening right now. And I said, yep.
So
I love that.
So
I'm going to keep doing my studies, because I definitely want to know more about my people. But when I was doing my little research, my deeper research on Aja, I was like, oh, family.
I wonder, is this going to translate into some of the music on your new album, Crown?
That was how we even started this whole conversation about sis, I got emotional, so I went on. But
it's okay. No worries.
During the process, I wrote the album Crown, which, I felt like all my life I was in search of this crown. I felt like I was in search of this higher meaning. And like, when I speak about crown, it's not just an allude or like it's not just an homage to my old drag or just my spirituality. It's everything. It's me standing tall. And what's different about this project is that it's extremely vulnerable. It's not just a rap album. It's soul. It's very much me saying, this is who I am. And what I did was, I've been working on this for a year and a half, 2 years almost. I had people from my practice come into the studio, and they played a full drumming to 10 different Orisha in the order they would play for Oshun. We call it an ordo when they play song. And I sent those 10 tracks to 10 different producers who turned them into beats, interludes, and everything. And they created, this fucking crazy just project. And
oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this.
I know, me too. I'm like ready for it now.
Well, knowing the backstory too, like just to it just sounds amazing.
Well, it's very, I was listening to it. I was like, it's like when you hear it's meant to be heard from front to back. because it's one whole song basically broken down into 10 songs and 10 interludes. I speak about me not knowing what roads to take. I talk about, you know, my tough relationship with being with fame. You know, in the song called Tough Love, it's literally like, you know, I had a feature on the track. His name is Gus. And he's a producer, but he's also I like his voice, and I was like, I need like a nice, strong little like whoosh there.
Yeah.
And in his bridge that he wrote himself, he quote unquote says, "I don't want no tough love. If it really ain't love." And he talks about funny. It's like funny how I don't ask, but you still criticize me, and then you say it's all love. And I was like, oof, like that just like resonates with me. I have another song on there called White Couture, and it's about me leaving for my year to dress. I was dressed in white for a fucking year. I don't ever want to see white clothing again.
I need a lookbook, because how did you do that? I'd be in a toga, you might get a cute legging and a shoe, a sandal, maybe.
So, but see, we can't wear sandals for the first 3 months. It's high collar, long sleeve. You're purifying yourself, so it's very modest.
Got it.
No shorts for the whole year. After 3 months, you can cut. And for the first 3 months, no mirror, no TV, no music, no nothing. Like, it's very
wow.
dead.
Wow.
It's to strip you from vanity and ego, and to strip you from the idea. In Africa, in the traditional Yoruba and in Isheshe, they don't have what we call the Iyaborahe, which is the 1 year in white. But in all the diasporas, they do have it because it's supposed to embody slavery. These people went through a lot of hardships to preserve this practice, and you have to have a taste of what it is to be purified, and you're sacrifice. You're making self-sacrifice.
Okay.
So, you know, another thing, you know, you sacrifice your hair, you know, that's a big thing too. Like, and women do it too. You part of your crowning is they shave your head, and like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I can't say, but
of course, yeah,
things get done, and you know, it is what it is. Like, but I'll say this. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, not just for culture, but also for, you know, a lot of people who I know a lot of people who were atheists who walked into this like experience with me, and there's a lot of people that walked out like, I can't believe this happened. They're like, I've never seen a religion that I believed in before. And I'm like, you know, it was because in Lukumi we have proof. Like, you know, Orisha manifests, they possess the bodies of humans, and they talk to you about things nobody knows. You know, and that freaks people out also.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
I can see that.
But, you know, I think Black spirituality is so powerful. I think that's why it's always been oppressed. And I think that's why it's always been like shoved in the corner. I mean, what we have in this day and age is not even real Christianity. It's like white Christianity. It's patriarchal Christianity. Like, it's just like, you know,
it's like an excuse for people to oppress people, really, at this point. It's like, you know, it's more of a tool of oppression.
No, absolutely. And, you know, I spent my whole year in white too, just reflecting. I learned how to fucking bead and do shit. Like, I beaded a bunch of paraphernalia, just like, you know, it's like, what are you doing on Saturday? Oh, I'm beating a machete. Like, yes. Like, you know, oh, I'm beating a brass bell. This is how I'm spending my, you know. So even if the quarantine wasn't happening, like, I would have still had to do this. And, you know, it made quarantine made it more weird. And it was also hard being a public figure and doing this, because another thing too is a big taboo is you're not supposed to be on camera. But I had to preserve my following. And I got a lot of backlash from elders in my community who were like, oh, so we're just breaking the rules now. And I'm like, sis, you know what the tea is, okay?
Right. This is
fucking
these are my coins.
Well, yeah, I was like, Oshun knows damn well how I was able to afford this Ocha.
Exactly.
So she knows how I'm going to continue to keep going on. Because another thing, initiation is not cheap. You know, initiation in the States right now ranges between like depending on what orisha you have, because there's different qualifications. I've heard of things being between maybe 10 and 25,000.
Oh,
so,
wow.
you know, my initiation was 12.5 thousand. And, you know, that's really standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So, go ahead.
I was just to say, it's sort of like, I mean, people probably be like, I can see people saying like, oh, you know, you're paying to do this, but it's more like, it's kind of like more like paying tribute to the culture, right?
No, because the process is to literally consecrate your body in ways that make it a closed practice. It's, you know, a lot of these practices are not open. It's not like, you know,
right.
Some people are very delusional. They think, well, I bought this statue of Oshun, so I can light candles and put a pumpkin here, and oh my God, I'm doing witchcraft. And I'm like, sweaty. That's not Oshun. That's a resin statue. You couldn't even get the good one.
See, I'm not even deep in it, and that bothers me. Like, I've done enough research just to be like, oh my gosh, sis, calm down with your October looks over there.
Looks back.
Girl.
It's beautiful. It's macabre sometimes, but you want to know something? It is definitely an experience. I think that like doing this was one of the best things that I ever did for myself, and it also made me a lot more patient and level-headed, because that 1 year in white, if I didn't have that, bitch, the other day when I saw that 10 minutes, I would have went the fuck off. I wouldn't. You know, but that's also why I dealt with that situation. So I feel like at this point in my life, I have bigger and better things to do. And, you know, one of the big things that I was told in my ETA is people will do things for a reaction out of you. Do not break character, because that's how people want to see you fall. And I've done a lot of that in the past. So, you know, I posted a tweet yesterday, and I said it because people were messaging me nasty shit. I said, you can try as hard as you want. You'll never see my crown fall.
I saw that. Yep.
Are you and Kandy on good terms now? Like, you said you were going to talk about it.
Well, I'm blocked. So
I see.
we're giving it time to rest.
You know, to be honest with you, I feel like I on my end, I've done nothing but be a good friend, and I feel like, you know, I've been a good support, and I'm very confident in that. I don't feel the least bit phased. I feel more so like I just wanted to make things good. So, you know, whatever happens in the future happens. Whatever's meant to happen will happen. Yeah. And I just hope that one day, you know, we can all wake up and just be like, well, that was that.
Move past it, sort of thing.
I think what we're seeing with you, Aja, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is this is just very new for one party. And then we've got somebody who's been through it. And I'm not saying, oh, you had to walk a mile in my shoes, but emotional intelligence and awareness is a thing. And you've kind of had that opportunity to understand yourself. So by extension, you understand others better, not to mention being part of a unique situation like Drag Race or whatever else you might have in common. And you just know where to respond.
I have never made, like, maybe there's, with the exception of 5 people, I've never met a friend who I didn't have to this extent of some sort of situation with. Mm-hmm. I think it just happens. I think that it's just a natural course of a relationship. Yeah. I also feel like sometimes you walk into people's life to serve a purpose and then you leave. I feel like it could be so many things. And, you know, I don't really have much to say about it, because I feel like, you know, people are going to think what they want to think. People have messaged me what they want to message me, and I'm not responding to any of it. You know, people are like, oh, you're jealous, you're this. I mean, if you have eyes, you know that's not true. Like,
yes.
You know, my thing is like, what, you know, and also like people are like, oh, you're mad because she's shining. And I'm like, and when did I stop?
Right.
Bitch, I've been shining since the moment that I fucking walked out the pussy. So I don't know what. You know, that line on Drag Race when Kandy said, you know, either you have it or you don't. You're either born a star or not, and I'm a star. She knows that because I said that too.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, you're a star. You're a star. And I said, you know, the same way I know that I'm a star. Let me tell you something. I don't need drag. I don't need nothing. I could walk into a place and demand everybody's attention. Why? Because I'm me. And because people will always want to hear what I have to say. You could love me or hate me, but you're tuned in.
Yeah, it's like you're here.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, people, my response to everything was, you saw Pose and you like the lecture, but you don't like me. You like to compare me to Crystal LaBeija, but then you don't like what I say. Go fuck yourself. If you can't take it, then don't tune in. People love to obsess over Black ballroom culture, but can't handle how it really gets. And my thing is, if I want to get upset, let me get upset. They're like, oh, it's light shade. Well, you know what I do with light shade? I engulf it into complete darkness. So
thank you. I'll drown your ass if you push me.
I love that a lot of people just had a lot of opinions. And that's why I was like, let me not make any public statements. And even now, I'm just kind of saying what happened. I don't really have a public statement because, girl, you know as much as I know.
Yeah. So does this mean that you'll may have a dark shadow over season 13? Or I mean, just like, are you not gonna basically not gonna watch, or is it weird for you now?
Well, I to be honest with you, I haven't really been watching Drag Race that much for the last few years. Not for a personal reason. I just feel like it hasn't been that interesting. I kind of watch more for the girls because I really love to support the artists. I feel like they're all beautiful and amazing. And I feel like this season is no different. I feel like it's exceptional. I probably will tune in for like the lip syncs and the runaways. But that's about it, because I feel like if I watch the whole episode, I get mad. I get my own opinions. I'm like, oh, this person should have won that. This person should have won that. And I've also played the game, so I know what it is to be there. And I know what it is to be waiting there. And then they go, you're the winner of a challenge. And to go. And then to see the television version and go, oh. I know what it is to do that. Not to say that it's different, but like I feel like, there's times where I would judge things differently. But then again, that's why it's all open to opinion. They're working a TV show. It's successful, obviously. There's a franchise around the world, and they're getting their Emmys and their whatever else they get, So their things. So, I don't want to be a hater on the show. I had a producer reach out. I had a producer block me on everything, and then when I texted them, I was like, yo, what's good? And they were like, you were trash talking the show on social media. I was like, I never did that, but okay. Like, for me, it's just like that type of gaslighting behavior. Here's the thing. People forget that I have a metaphoric cabinet that I have every receipt ever. I can give you
we love an invoice. We love a receipt. I'm
like, you bitches like elephants because I have the memory of one. I do not forget. Like, girl, and that's the thing is like, I think people say and do shit sometimes, and I'm like, oh, you really didn't think that I was gonna have this shit together. And, I've also thought about like, what if like this goes even more south, and I really plan not to do nothing. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm in my own lane.
I think you've got the correct approach. Let other people kind of learn on their own. You've had to. If they're not ready to hear what you're saying, then they'll just hear it on their own time.
Yeah, and I feel like you're doing the right thing too. Like just trying to have a conversation with her personally. Like there's no need for you to like go out and like make a statement and like an iOS press release type thing. It's just like, okay, I'm going to like have the conversation with my friend, and that's really all that matters, and right? Like
none of your business.
Who cares about what the fan base or everyone on the internet thinks? It's more about your relationship with that person, and did you do anything wrong?
And even then, like it's also like people behind the scenes know what's up. So people can hear whatever they want to hear, but people behind the scenes know what's up. When I spoke to my mom about the situation, my mom was like really bothered, and she was like, really? My mom is also someone who was there for Candace a lot, and my mom was like really disappointed about how everything went down. But I mean, like I said, like, if we're meant to be friends, we'll be friends. If not, it is what it is. And, it would be unfortunate because I did value them as a friend, and I really did have the best for them like in mind. I never said anything to this person without considering their feelings or anything. I really did only push them to be the best person they could be. Sometimes people think that I'm trying to mold them into a mini me, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to mold you into the best you can be. You want to know something? Life sucks. Life is hard. People are disgusting. People will backstab you. People will do the worst shit to you
without blinking.
And I want you to be prepared for when you step out into the world and people start treating you like shit. Because, newsflash, guess what? Now you're honey and everyone's a bunch of fucking flies. So guess what? And this is something I lived through multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think that I never had a problem sharing my platform with my friends or doing anything. And people have asked me in the last few days, do you regret that? No, I don't. You know why? Because there's a time and place for everything, and sometimes things just happen for a reason.
Yep.
And if I can be the help that someone needed at one moment, it's fine. I'm not one of those people who's like, well, fuck you, bitch, and fuck everything I did for you.
Burn it, bitch.
Because I can't go back in time.
Yeah.
But all I can do is just say, you know what? I hope you do well. And
maybe Kandy comes back after the season, once she goes through the experience that you went through, and she goes, oh, clicks now now it makes sense, and then maybe you can be friends again. But like you said, it's people's life, they come and go, they interweave with each other. Maybe Kandy comes back, but it sounds like you're in a good place right now.
That's the thing. It's like, for me, a constant narrative about Aja is I'm so bothered all the time. I'm always in a mood. I'm always like, oh, people have loved to be like, I need to slog off social media. I should see a therapist. The
list goes on. Sis.
Oh my God. I'm just like, girl, I'm at home playing Pokemon and masturbating. I have I'm just like, I'm drinking and I'm like, like watching movies with my man, and we're just like,
carefree
edibles and talking shit.
Our own fucking business, minding our business.
And another one too is like, bitches just love to be like, if I even put a wig on, people are like, oh, she was hungry, like that kind of shade, like, oh. And I'm like, you want to know something? Let me tell you something.
I do that with my raps too.
It's just like, my love, I have multiple sources of revenue. I am a business.
Mm-hmm.
I can afford to take this year off.
Amen.
And I said this in my album. I said this in a line in a song. I said, people be worried about me, but don't even have food on their plate. I'm like, how the fuck you worried about my plate, but you ain't even served yourself yet?
Exactly.
Bitch, get the fuck off my plate.
Thank you.
No, it's that one. And I said, another one I said was, I dropped a lot of worry about me lines. I said, another one I said was, worry about me, but you need to get a job. Like, my thing is like, some of these bitches are like, how you 40 unemployed and stuck up drag queens asses
on Twitter?
Oh my God.
I'm talking about the one. I'm like, if you're 45 and your main concern is yes, Team Mama Hunty Dip Debstrop, then you honestly should go see a doctor.
Oh, no. Yeah, we have some things to talk about you first before we get to me.
Oh, wait. Okay, see, this is how you know I'm self-centered, because you said that and I was like, oh, I'm ready to talk about me.
Oh, let's fight.
I'm telling you, like, I don't know you, but I feel like in pieces and just a different realm, I've kind of experienced it just on the corporate level. Just, here he goes. He's got something to say. There goes that queen again. But you want me in all the rooms so you can take all of what I have to say and then leave me out of it. That's kind of been my experience.
Oh, yes. Hold up. I'm going to take your offer on that bathroom break because I need to break.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no worries.
Oh,
do your thing, girl.
Yeah, I need to go too.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to our podcast so far. Thanks for coming. Right now, we're probably refilling our drinks or maybe even gluing down our lashes again. While you wait, here are some things that you should check out.
Yeah, remember everyone, you can email us tfcpod@gmail.com and tfcpod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Oh, and one more thing. You're not my real dad, and you never will be. Anyways, back to the show.
You good?
We're a mess.
We're back. Well, I was going to say, we've been going for a little while, and you've been drinking White Claw. It was bound to happen, girl.
You know what? I wanted to go pee and I was like, okay, bitch. I was like, I'm feeling a little too cute for drinking 2 White Claws. I was like, and I realized I slept for 4 hours. I was like, oh, that's what it is.
That's what it's. Oh man.
Girl, and I have some like fucking witchcraft to do later. So I'm just like,
Oh shit.
I'm learning, Aja. I'm trying to be on your level.
girl, I'm doing some. I can't really say what I'm doing, but
You don't have to spill your tea. I'm like still like grassroots basics. Like I'm trying my best to meditate whenever I can, just to kind of dip into my intuition a little more. I've had like dreams and people come to me throughout my life, but I've never really acknowledged it. So I'm researching what that means and what that looks like, I guess, for me.
I can say this to you actually. So, everybody has their own like spiritual core or whatever, I use my Congo spirits because I'm initiated into the Congo mysteries, obviously. But, I'm doing some stuff like, when shit like this happens, I do tongue cleanings where I try to get people to stop talking about me, but I don't want to be brought up in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You get 2 pork tongues, you rub them up and down with palm oil, you can fill them up with peppers and hot, spicy, nasty stuff so that people who talk about you get a bad taste in their mouth.
Ooh.
And you clean yourself from head to toe, and then you nail them to old trees.
Ooh. Okay, if we're ever in Aja's hood, we're paying for a class. You can go.
Is this like alchemy
Tourist.
class? Is that what we're talking about? Or
No, what I was took
No.
away from this was if I ever start having a bad taste in my mouth, I know it's Aja.
That's the
But
bad
I would not. But yeah, we wouldn't say. I mean, honestly, in All Stars 3, like we were loving you. Like I thought you got eliminated too soon. Like I mean, we just really
That was bullshit. We all know it.
It was, and like I mean, can we talk about Bebe not telling everyone who she was going to eliminate?
It was Trixie.
For sure.
Yes.
Oh God.
Somebody was like, "Are you sure you like to say false things?" And I was like, "I don't give a fuck. Why would I tell
Right.
you?"
My word.
Well,
I think
she knows the fandom.
I think she didn't want to because obviously, if I were her, I wouldn't. I think she didn't want it. I think she was okay with that.
Yeah.
Girl, that would have turned into a shit show.
Well, and Trixie even said she thinks it was her. So like,
well, the same producer who blocked me told me that it was her.
Oh, there you go. Weird how that works, huh?
Right.
It's funny. Yeah. You know what? I'm not trying to get nobody in trouble. So I just, you know what? I take 10 steps back. And again, also I resonate very deeply with karma.
Oh yeah.
So when people wrong me for no reason, I always think it's okay because one way or another.
That's right.
I'm joking.
Right.
It comes back to you, man.
That was good though. That was good.
That was good. It's so true though. Like I've had to grown into that because I always used to think I had to counter or say something or go the extra 10 steps. But then I had to think, they're not putting all that extra energy into what they're doing. So why should I? I'm going to preserve my energy and we'll do the takedown later when it's appropriate.
can I ask something about All Stars 3? So like, what was it like being like the new kid on the block kind of? Because like you were kind of the newest season, I guess season 9 on All Stars 3. And like, you were kind of the new queen and everyone else had kind of been around for a while. So like, what was that like for you?
It was like anything. I kind of didn't care. I was like, when I went on All Stars, I was like, I ain't winning. And I just went in. I was like, I ain't winning. I was like, I ain't winning, but I'm still going to spend all this money and I'm going to do all this shit. And I'm going to make sure that I bring the most perfect package because if I don't win, then they look bad. And I mean, that's what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
So I was like, I went and I did, here's the thing also is like, I feel like people have this like idea of me when I used to do drag, people had this idea of me as a performer. And that was another reason that I wasn't really having fun doing drag anymore was when everyone had an opinion of the performer I was like, back at home, like I was kind of known for being like, yes, high energy, but like my thing was like sex. So like when people were like, death drop, I was like,
what?
Right?
Like what's happening?
I was like, that was never like a big part of my performances. For me, it was always about like I want to be a hoe. Like, I want to just be, bitch. I want to be.
Oh yeah.
I want to be like a little Thotty McThottenbot. Like,
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, season 9 was very, very, very like interesting on so many levels. And my favorite was people like, oh, there you go. You see, Aja went on there thinking she was hot shit. And I was like, I never thought I was.
I always want to talk shit about a confident person.
No, let me tell you something. Bitch, I was not confident. I went on there thinking, holy shit, I'm poor. I'm broke. I was like, I have to see what I could do. You want to know something? And then it was funny because every piece of clothing that someone let me borrow made the first episode like, oh, look at me in this and look at me in this. I'm like, yeah, girl, that was because they felt bad for me. So they were like, hey, do you want to borrow anything? Because like, you know. And then it's just like, also I was having like a bad makeup year, which is even worse. And this goes with me as an artist as well. I'm a little too dynamic where I feel like I have to change up really quick every year. For me, it's like every year, I need to do something new. And for me with drag makeup, it was like that. And like, I think I had a good mug before, like, especially when I auditioned for the show, my audition mug was kind. And then, I don't know, it got hot in New York. And then I stopped covering my eyebrows for the summer, but then I was doing all the big features. And then I went on Drag Race looking like a fucking praying mantis. And I was like, what are you doing? And then not to mention, they had the horrible purple lighting. And on people of color, purple lighting is not it because it blocks out all the red tones. Yeah. And I'm like, so like a lot of people thought that I was heavily contoured with like the Princess Disaster look, but like I was like just heavily blushed. And I was like, on TV, it looks like I did some like, I mean, the lips were unacceptable. I'll give it that. But also the point was that she was supposed to be a disaster. I remember I said that and Michelle goes, she was like, you look like Janice from the Muppets. And I was like, thank you. And she was like, no, it's not a compliment. And then she was like, look at everyone. And then look at you. I was like,
damn. We always give Michelle shit. We're like, oh, who's gonna be Michelle this season?
She, that I don't think that aired on television, but she remembered, and I did the Work the World tour with her afterwards because for some reason Boss Events thought I was in the top 3, like everyone else did. And then she saw me. I was on the tour with her. We were in rehearsals, and she apologized. She was like, "I'm sorry."
Good.
Like, and I was like, "Oh wow!" And I liked her for like that one day. I was like, "You're cool."
Yeah.
No, I do like Michelle. I appreciate her. She's really cool. There was a moment in All Stars where the day I got eliminated, and RuPaul honestly went off on me for whatever reason. And at some point, I could see Michelle go.
So right here, Aja mouths the words, "I'm sorry." So I know you can't see it because you're listening to this as a podcast, but you chose not to watch the YouTube video, so that's your fault. Anyways, back to the interview.
And I was like, I knew this wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
But
I have a question for you, and you can tell me this is a deep topic. This might be too personal, but you were on All Stars 3, and we all 3 of us love Chi Chi.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if you would want to like maybe share like something we haven't seen on TV, just like some little thing that you really stick out in your mind about Chi Chi.
Oh
my God, Chi Chi was like my favorite person when we were filming. Like literally, like I spent all the time with her, and like, all right, I'm gonna get really emotional. Like we would like go outside, and we would like I was trying to get her to quit smoking cigarettes, but she was making me smoke cigarettes. And I remember I was like having really bad anxiety when we were there, and like I don't know, just talking to her, we would always just like kind of like comfort each other because I know I always seem like I'm like this out loud person, but like I'm really socially awkward. Like when it comes down to talking about deep stuff and getting close to people, I'm like and I don't know, she just always made me feel so comfortable, and we would get ready together all the time, and we would always talk. And like I remember there was this moment where they were like Chi Chi, we feel like we're not seeing you. And I remember I took her outside and I was like, listen, bitch. I was like, that's bullshit. I was like, that is bullshit. I was like, you haven't changed. You've been acting great this whole time. I said, don't fall for that bullshit. And I remember like she was like, you really think so? And I was like, yeah. And I don't know. She just she was always like one of the real people. Like she was always like so real and so just so kind for no reason. I remember when she got eliminated, they held us they held me and they lied to me and told me they was gonna give me my phone and they didn't for the weekend until we came back for the Kitty Girls bullshit and Chi Chi flew all the way back to Shreveport for 2 days because she missed her cats.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought it was the cutest like ever. I was like, really? I was like, it was just so funny, but I really do miss her. And like I feel like I wish I would have spoken to her more after the show. Me and her kept in communication here and there.
Yeah.
And I did a show in Shreveport. And when I went, you know, I was so happy to see her, but like I knew she was getting sick. And you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but a few weeks before she passed, I always have this one specific dream every time someone I know dies, and it's always a dream about me and my teeth falling out. And all my teeth started falling out in the dream, and I was like, "What the fuck? Oh my god!" And then when I woke up, for some reason, I was in a haze, and I thought, I was like, I should check up on Chi Chi. And I don't know why that thought came to me. So that day, let me see. I have the message here. I had messaged her on Instagram and I was like, hey, you know, just checking up on you, trying to see like how you're doing. Here I said, I love you so much and I hope you're doing well. I miss you and I hope you know everything is gonna be good. And then I think it was like a few days later, she was in the hospital and then she passed. And once she was in the hospital, I knew, like, I just knew. And I didn't want to say anything because, you know, you don't want to jinx it. So I was like, I just knew. I saw the video of her like on the tubes and stuff. And I said, I told my partner, I was like, I think it's going to happen.
Damn.
And then she died. And I was like, I felt like shit because I was just like, you know, she really was one of the nicer, great ones. Yeah. And I'm saying that anyone deserves death. It's just like, you know, it just sucks that, you know, really the nice ones go so quick.
Yeah. That was a really emotional day for us, I think. You know, I just really felt her passing kind of like a lot because like you said, you know, Chi Chi is just so like everyone loves Chi Chi, great personality. She can do like anything really, you know, you just feel the kindness coming from her. Like we don't even, it's like we don't know her personally, but you can feel it, like her spirit coming through the TV. So when she passed, it was just like such an emotional thing for, you know, I was like, I got to get off Twitter because everyone's posting their tributes to her. And and I was just like, just seeing her face, just like again and again and again, it was like really hard that day.
Oh, you know, one thing too was that it was very much I had this thing with her where I was always like, you know, you're enough, and she always had this like idea like where she was like, oh, like I don't have the money to do these costumes, like I don't have this and that. And I remember we were doing the floral runway and we were in the room and she was in such a good mood. And I was like, are you okay? Because, you know, ain't nothing happy about filming that bullshit. So I was like, are you good? And she said, girl, I know I'm going home. And I was like, why you say that? She was like, look, I came here too soon. I don't have the things that you guys have. She was like, I don't have the costumes, the makeup, this. I was like, but Chi-Chi's not about that. I said, girl, I said, no cap. Like, this is a reality TV show.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who fucking has talent. You know, just take with the time that they allow you. Because at the end of the day, the writers are who are in charge of our time, not us. And no shade, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we could influence that by doing things here and there. But, you know, all we can do is make the best out of what we get. And she was like, yeah, but girl, and I said, girl. And she was like, she was hot gluing them. She made that costume herself. She was like hot gluing the little flowers. And she was like, you know, sometimes I just feel like it's not enough. And, you know, after that day, I remember like I spoke ferociously on every interview that when I was still doing like Drag Race centered interviews, I spoke a lot about, you know, how there is a lot of classism in the fan base because a lot of people just see the final product and you know, a lot of viewers think, oh, the queens came up with that, they made that, oh, she's so talented. No, a lot of people buy shit,
Yes.
and do shit, and that, you know, and then there's queens who are like Chi Chi, who put her every last ambition and soul into making something that she thought was just cheap. And I think that is what made it so beautiful, is that she put her all into it. But you know, with so much materialism and everything, you know, people don't see that.
Yeah, we talk about that on the show, that we've lost the spirit of drag and where it came from. It's not about who can buy the fiercest outfit. Like, people would sacrifice their meals or their lights being turned off to go and turn out these performances in the ballroom to uplift the community and, you know, make us feel good. It's not about who can afford these designers who see the Instagram posts and that's all they're worried about. Oh, make sure you tag me.
Literally, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, it was like in the morning. This was every day. I was at the fabric store, and then I was running late for the gig, like having a fucking anxiety attack. My sewing machine was breaking down. The costume was like half done.
Oh,
and
no.
then I'm sitting there like trying to glue plastic stones because I can't afford glass ones. I look crazy, but like I tried all day, tried so hard to make this impression that nobody's gonna remember. But like that's really what it was. And you know, after a certain point in Drag Race, like, you know, I in my season, I really thought in my season, you know, it was funny because Thorchi came back and Thorchi was like, girl, it's a TV show. It's not a drag competition. And then I thought to myself, I said, you know what? You know, when I go on the show, I have to think that way. And I walked in, my dumb ass, like, oh, like, you know, it's about what we do and how we do it. You know, next thing you know, it's just like, oh, okay. You know, I used to get offended. I used to feel like shit because I didn't have, like, if I didn't have, oh, I don't naturally look feminine like that, so I can't put on makeup the way you do. I have to actually reconstruct my face, so I'm more talented because you do less work. That's how I used to think. I used to think the more work you put in, the better you were at doing drag, and then I realized that no. It's all consumership. It's all, you know, it's all like, you know, what is by this.
Sorry, not to cut you off. I was saying that is one thing about like all-star seasons I feel like we kind of miss, is that seems like all-stars, a lot of times it comes down to like who is coming into all-stars and just buying like the most expensive like shit ever and trying to just like pull it off. Whereas I don't know, like I really like the new cast seasons because it's like more, it comes off to me like more authentic, like if they're designing their own things or they don't really know what to buy going in or whatever. So I don't know, sometimes the all-stars just can be too much
for me. Well, that's another reason why I was like, if you know, after All Stars, I was like, girl, they can ask me to come on every season. I'm saying no. I'm saying no every single time. Why? Because I know, again, and goes back to the I know what I want to do syndrome. After I came off of All Stars already, I was like, I don't want to be a comedian. I don't want to be, you know, an improv artist. I don't want to get on stage and be like, oh my God, like that's not me. And like, you know, the reason why I went in the path of music was because it's something I have a passion for. And, you know, I feel like that, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like my passion is not drag. I guess it's just something that I can't really explain. I feel like
you've evolved kind of past it, and that's not to say in a derogatory way. It's just like we were saying about people coming in and out of your lives. Drag is just kind of, it's a part of your life, but it's not currently part of it. It was a part of you.
I view myself almost as someone like, I guess like Bowie or Prince, like how they would see themselves, like someone who's just like, fuck social construct of gender, but I'm me and this is what I do, and like people are gonna have opinions and it is what it is.
Yeah,
like, I love it.
They also switch, they have phases in their careers and stuff like that too, so that really does like kind of track with what you're doing, because you know you did, you know, Drag Race, you did, you know, app music and all that stuff, and you just like, I really love music, that's what you want to do, like. So I mean, and that doesn't mean you're not like Aja still, of course. Like Aja's just what you're looking at, but like who you really are is like really comes through in your music, I think, and you can really tell that you're passionate about it.
I feel like I'm just me. I'm just me. Like, I don't think I would do a good job at giving anything else, and I think that's why I was like, I have to just kind of like do me, because if I don't, girl, if I don't do me, who the fuck else is? Oh,
That's right.
That's an open-ended question.
Always do you, because this is the energy we promote on the show. It's so hard to not kind of acknowledge those demons or listen to those voices sometimes, but you are an example of someone who can kind of work through that, and they're still growing through that. People don't understand you're always growing and kind of on your path, and you run into trouble when you're trying to stay at one point. And it's like, well, no, it's not compatible anymore. It's time to evolve.
Absolutely. And that's very true. A lot of people make everything about numbers and quantity, but like for me, it's really about the quality of my fandom. I feel like my fandom it literally shows no mercy at showing up to every little thing. Like if I need my fans to do something and my followers, they do it. And that's why like I'm not worried that, I don't have 2,000 people showing up in my live. I don't care about that. For me, it's more about, the people who come are the people who always show up. And that loyalty is important. And I feel like you want to know something. I feel like a lot of people have tried to defame me. And I feel like a lot of people are going to continue to try to defame me. But I feel like what people don't understand is that you can't play me.
Tell him again. Get snaps on the arm.
I feel like, if you try to play me, you only play yourself. Like,
thank you.
Yes.
I always let people know real quick, like you could be 10 steps ahead, but I'm always like 20 steps ahead. I'm always going to be ahead of those who think that they're ahead of me. And I think that it's just like, I don't fuck with you bitches. Like, what I'm saying? It's just like, and another thing too is that like, I feel like a lot of people in like the intense Drag Race fandom have tried to discredit a lot of the things that I've done and try to make it seem like, oh, like my successes are not valid, or like my accomplishments are not valid. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, great. I'm like, maybe I'm not successful to you, but bitch, I already conquered your whole arena. I'm like, I'm over here doing something else. Mm-hmm. And, forgive me for not wanting to do work the world. Bitch, I've already worked the world. It's just like,
yes.
Hey,
it's no shade. It's no shade to the girls who do all those things.
No.
Like, that's their thing. And like, you know what? Make that money, bitch. You better go off. You better
That's right.
For me, it's just not for me. It's just like, if I know that I don't fucking like fucking crab, why would I order crab at a restaurant?
Right.
Yes.
And I think some people need to learn that lesson. Like, if you don't like me, don't tune in. People do that shit all the time. It's like,
change the channel, bitch.
I said that in an older song I made called Art Jesus. I said, don't like what you see, change the channel. Like,
there you go. It's that easy. And then you don't have to be a hater. Like, I don't know. People put too much bad energy out into the world. So
yeah,
it's like
people love to project their insecurities on other people. People love to try to be relevant when they are bored. Like, and that's the thing too, is just like, Sweaty, I'm sorry that you are tired of playing the fence in your boring friend group, that you need to go online to sip mama, that you're over here like, somebody sent me a message the other day and they were like, I'm so sorry that you're working on another flop album. And I was like,
oh god.
And I was just like, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I made another flop album, but my first album got over 1 million streams, and it got in the first day got over 100,000 streams collectively. So I was just like, yeah, I was like, okay, I guess,
Well,
okay.
Aja, you've got fans in us. We've been fans. I mean, you can listen to the show. Like, we've got We're not going to make you do all that homework.
Just not
now.
the first 5 episodes. Just
Just
like, don't call me out.
No, I didn't know. See, it's happening already. It comes back to me. No, this one here is the shady one on the pod.
He's the undercover shady one.
We've been fans of yours from the start, and I say keep doing what you're doing. It's a lesson I've had to learn because I've had to kind of come up and come through certain avenues, and I just had to realize, you know what? They just don't like what you're doing, but what you're doing is not necessarily wrong. They just may be threatened by you, or they may not understand you.
You know, the way that I've also looked at it is a lot of the drag race is predominantly like white women.
Yeah, we talk about them on this podcast.
You know, I make hip hop music, and you know, I've realized that a lot of the people who do consume my music tend to be a lot of queer Black people, a lot of ironically also a lot of queer punk white kids.
Really?
Yes. I get a lot of people from the punk crowd. I guess a lot of punk people like rap music. I also have seen, ever since I started doing music, I see a lot more Black faces at my shows. I see a lot more I also see a lot more straight people.
Oh, really? They just see your music and they're like, let's go do this.
Well, no, I did a show once for Depop, and a lot of like, and I was kind of surprised, but a lot of like straight Black men showed up.
Nice.
Okay.
People who were like, well, people were like, I was like, first of all, I was like in full, just like womana.
Yeah.
but my hair was braided, so I had these little like little box braids, and they had little patch beads, and people were literally dabbing me up like, yo, that was fucking lit. I was like, what is it?
Listen, that music goes off, but what a mind fuck in the moment, I'm sure.
The show was me and this rapper named Malibu Mitch, and it was just so funny. Like, I was just like, they were like, bro, that was fucking hot, man. I was like,
okay,
thank you.
You know, I think it's cool to have that type of I don't know, that type of embracing, like, because it's an unexpected that, you know, especially like cis men to just come forward and be like, oh yes, like when me and Mark were just talking about this, like, you know, have you heard that song with Pablo Vittar, Anita, and Luisa Sonza?
I don't think I have yet, no.
It's called Mojo Turbo. It's in Portuguese, but it's already, in 1 week, it got 25 million views.
Oh, wow. Oh, damn.
And the fucking song is amazing. It's the best song I've heard every year. And that's
I've got homework.
Oh, I hated every album that came out this year. Chromatica, the Ariana, Dua Lipa, But also, I don't like pop music, so it's like different for me.
Yeah.
But this song, bitch, we put it on every day, and we just like we shake our ass so much we have to put basketball shorts on, bitch. We have to like, I'm like, my jeans too tight. But
where's the IG? I would love to see that show.
So literally. So obviously Pablo Vittar is arguably the most popular and most viewed at this point drag artist in the entire world.
Yes, work.
Yeah.
We need that representation so much.
Totally.
Yeah.
But she's on the song with Anita, who's again arguably the most famous Brazilian artist, and she sings in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And then you have Luisa Sonza, who's a very popular Brazilian artist. They get on this track, and we were watching reaction videos, and it was just like all these like straight men like watching the video, and then Pablo comes on, and again, it's like at least 75% of them would pause the video and go, I just want to say I don't hate gay people.
Oh God.
I don't, but I'm not going to be sitting here and saying like, she's a man, it's a drag queen. I'm like, this is so unnecessary. Like,
totally.
It was just like,
I hate it when the straights do that.
I hate it too. But to go from that type of energy to like having people like dab me up and being like, oh, like I appreciated this. I'm like,
yeah,
that's interesting. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. Like the video It's so high budget. It's so wild. It's literally them having a twerk off with a robot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm putting
This
that
is-
on after this. It sounds
this is
like my kind of
definitely-
carrying on.
This is definitely Pablo Vittar's like moment though, because I've been hearing so much about them and like within the past like 6 months or something like that. So I feel like, you know, Pablo is probably on the rise even further because
Oh, she's also just so kind. I did 2 music festivals with her, and she was just such a love to like. She invited me over to her trailer, like, and she was like, "Get drunk with me." I was like, "Oh, okay."
cool.
She was so cool, so nice, so awesome, and I think she's gonna break so many fucking barriers. Like again, she's also the first drag artist to ever be nominated for was it a VMA? Was it for a VMA?
Okay.
She did that song with Major Lazer and Anita. Like these are big things that fucking like, bitch. Like what?
Yeah, that's big. That's big time.
See, if there's anything that I want to do is I want to be that person. Like I want to be, you know, I want to do stuff that puts me as a queer artist like up there where it's like, you know, you did something that doesn't really happen much often. And, you know, no shade to RuPaul, but I really follow in Pablo's footsteps, if anything. Like she is someone who I really look up to. And I think that even if I don't do drag anymore, I think that I still view her as such a trailblazer.
Big time. Well, I know we've been taking up a lot of your time, so I feel like we're probably at a good point to start closing out the show. But before we do that, of course, everyone knows where to find you online. So we don't need to be telling no at Twitter handles. They know where you are. But I was just wondering if you could give us like some sort of idea when Crown is coming.
Yes.
So I have the first single is scheduled to come out in February.
Okay.
The second single is scheduled to come out in March, and the album is scheduled to come out in April. For my album cover, I'm emulating this album cover that La Lupe did, where a lot of people don't know, but La Lupe was crowned Oshun. And she has this album cover where it's her dressed in all white, and she's there's something we call Mofori Ballet, and it's when you salute the Orisha, and she's doing an Oshun salute on the cover of the album, dressed in all white. So on the album cover, I'm gonna be doing Mofori Ballet, but while dressed up in traditional Oshun garb. So.
Well, we will be the most excited to share that when that drops.
Yes, I'm ready to pre-save that shit, girl.
Yeah.
I'm excited to like, this album is just like,
it's gonna be good.
It's not, to be honest with you, it's like, it's not a bop or anything. It's literally just like emotional, and it's just like it's happy, it's angry, it's sad, it's just. You know, and you know what's crazy too is that in the order I wrote it, I felt like it manifested in the same order that my life is going on. And right now we're kind of on track 8. Like I'm not even joking with you. Like,
wow,
I was listening to it and I was like, bro, I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is crazy. I also have a song on it called Black Ariel, which is the song inspired by Yeah Maya, but it's an homage to Black femmes.
Okay.
And that track is wild. Like when I tell you, I had one of my features who was on one of my past EPs. Her name is Amira Wang. She's a rapper from Kansas City, and she has this like kind of just like. Let me tell you something. There's bad bitch, and then there's like, oh shit. And she's there, oh shit. She went on, I told her, I said, okay, can you write a verse for the track? And she goes, I think we should do a third verse and an outro. And we should do, I was like, okay. So she sent me the verse back, and I was like, first of all, this is going to be a moshing song. One, like, period. Like I was listening to it and I was like, yo, not only do I feel very proud to be who I am, but I also want to punch someone in the face.
Yeah.
Been there.
I'm really excited. Black Ariel.
I know.
Everyone listening, remember that track.
I'm also going to remember track 8. I'm going to remember this moment and I'm going to go back and listen to it.
I'll play it for you. I don't care.
Oh,
Woo!
yeah, that would be cool. Do you want us to end the show and then you can play it? 'Cause I'm sure you don't want us to play.
Yes,
our
let's
show.
do that.
All
We're
right.
gonna read too hard into the lyrics and be like,
Yeah,
We'll
I would
cut
love to
that
hear
out.
it, but I don't want to mess things up for you. So, well, thank you again, Aja, for coming on the show. This has been like the best night of my life. I don't know.
I know. I feel so
yes.
like just thank you so much for doing this because I mean we're just a little baby podcast, but you don't understand. We stand what you do, and I know in the toxicness of Drag Race, those comments and that love can be hard to find. And I just want you to feel all of it from us because we support you and everything you're doing. We're so excited for where your career is going, and just keep it up, sis.
Yes, thank you.
yo.
All right. And with that, just go say bye to everybody. We'll be back next week, I'm sure, with a brand new podcast. And yeah, anytime you want to come on, Aja, you just let us know. If something new happens, you got stuff to say.
If you want to talk about what you had for breakfast, just we'll schedule it.
This is the byproduct of me and Jamal being messy.
Yeah. I'm happy though, because like
Yeah.
it really did bring us together, and you're just such an amazing person and so easy to talk to. Like this
easy.
this has just been so much fun.
I agree.
Corona got
Uh-oh.
Dog, don't joke about that.
Oh, I'll cut that part out. but yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Be safe. Don't talk to strangers unless they have money. Don't get pregnant unless you want to. And also remember, abortion is now legal in Argentina. Shout out Argentina.
Oh yeah.
Go team.
Can we also promote your OnlyFans? Is that okay?
Oh yes, follow my OnlyFans. It's www.onlyfans.com/AJAOXUM,
Yes.
where you will find my exclusive content. Bitch, yes, it's the zhuzh.
Work.
We're all about
Yes.
promoting sex work here. So I didn't
Yes.
want to leave without promoting. I was like, we got to send these people to Aja. We got to send these people to support her. So, yeah, I guess we'll end the podcast, but I definitely want to hear this. I would love to hear some of Crown if you wanted to play it.
All right,
Oh, yeah.
listeners, we're gonna say bye, and then I'm gonna hit stop recording.
There, yeah. We'll stop recording so Aja knows we're not fucking with her shit.
That's right. So until then,
Bye.
bye.